Hi everyone, Jan Furston here from Furston House. I just wanted to share a little bit of what I've been up to in the last couple of days. Um, I've been working on ephemera because we all need ephemera. Well, okay, maybe we all don't need it, but we all want it. But I've been using bits and pieces and scraps and stuff, and I thought, I'll just share this with you. Maybe it'll help someone. But this is primarily what I've been working on, and I'm not even going to do a tutorial on it. I will do a quick demonstration on how to do these because they're so easy. It's like easy. But let me tell you what, let's go ahead and clear this off. We'll do these last because that's the one thing that is a little bit more finicky as far as how to do it. These are so simple, and again, this is using up scraps. And what I've done is make sure I'm in focus there. I had, well, obviously these are all scraps, and most of these are just single-sided, simple. This one is a double-sided, and it was a long scrap that I had, so I just literally folded it over. That's it. These pictures, normally I would use the Tim Holtz ones that are actually fussy cut out. Does that make sense? Fussy cut out. But anyway, and they're trimmed around and much shorter and stuff. But these pictures actually came from some of his cards. Here's one that is uncut, and it's the whole picture like an old photograph. The backings are beautiful. I've even thought about using the back or using this on some of the photographs I'm not really wild about, because you get a packet of them, and I thought this would make perfect pockets for things. Beautiful backings, and they're all slightly, well, not all of them different, but there's like 4 or 5 different designs in a packet. But so what I did was for this one and this one and this one, here we go, and that would just literally sit down on a page. I just literally fussy cut around the figure like so, and then put a little bit of cheesecloth on both sides, and voila, you've got something that's perfect for a journal tag that sits right over your page. You can put a paper clip on there if you want. It's not necessary because it does stay in place, really well. This one, I just took a pair of scissors with that, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a crinkly edge. That's Jan's version of what that's called. And I just, cut around it, used some stamping here, and voila, put a little bit of a what is it, a grommet or whatever in there, and then some sari silk. This one, it was wider, like so, but I didn't, it was just kind of blank, so I thought, nope, narrow it down. And again, I was using up scraps, so I didn't want to, the idea is to use up the scraps. So I just cut it down and rounded the edges. And on the back, I just put a bit of fabric trim that I had, cheesecloth underneath, and you've got a nice, really nice journal card there. And let's see, let's put those, and then these two, I didn't even do much at all. The cards are already rounded, and all I did was take scrap, again, scrap card, and just put it on there. On these two, I didn't put the cheesecloth underneath. I thought it kind of detracted because it's such a large piece, and it's like, nah, I like cheesecloth most of the time, but this I didn't want. So I just literally glued it to the thing, and then just added these 2 bits and pieces here. It's 2 vintage buttons, a little bit of scrap lace, and now there's a tiny piece of cheesecloth in there. And, you've got some really interesting cards. So there's that. Let's put these aside. These next, let's do these first. These are so easy. This, I got the idea from Belle's Unique, or Belle's Uniques. I had purchased a journal from her recently, and she had 2 of these in her journals. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so fantastic. It's easy. Again, you're using up scraps, which is what we all need to do. And all you do is you start off with a long strip. And, I mean, you don't even have to use scraps. If you have, a particular scrapbook or paper that you want to use, then do that. But it is cardstock. I think it, paper would be a little bit too thin. And all I did was cut out a piece of lace as the base. And, oh, well, no, first, okay, let me back up a little bit. You take your strip, okay? You fold it in half, cut down this edge here. Then I cut in a thing on both of them, and I stacked them and did 2 at a time. That way I knew that they were going to be as close, identical. Very, cut, simple. Ink it up. Then I laid them flat. Let me show you how I did this here. But I kept them separate. You can see it a little bit easier this side. You see where there's a little space there? So that's what I did. I laid them down with that small amount of space. It's maybe 1/8 of an inch. It's not quite a quarter, I don't think. I cut a piece of lace, and the idea, I like the idea of using lace. It's about the same size as the card. So, something like this, it had to use larger lace, and it doesn't have to be perfectly squared off lace. This one, you can see there's an indentation here and stuff, and that's okay. Play with it. Oh, I've got allergies, sorry. So anyway, on top of the lace, I put a little bit of cheesecloth, and I put 2 separate pieces of cheesecloth. I didn't want to put too much on that one edge. And I sewed the lace down. Actually, before I put the cheesecloth on, I sewed around the lace. You don't have to. I like sewing, and it's cheaper than using up that expensive glue that we all like. So I sewed down the lace, put the cheesecloth on top of it in 2 separate pieces, and then put the flowers on top of that, and that's it. I glued down the flowers. Again, you could even stitch the flowers on, and it's so neat and pretty. It uses up your scraps, and you just put it right on the edge of a page. Now, I will say, if you're not going to sew it, you want to make sure that these edges along the 2 top edges that are put together, you want to make sure they're pretty strong, because that's where your stress is going to come when it comes over the journal page. So there's that one. Super simple. You can make them smaller, with like so. You can make them longer, depends on the size of your journals or whatever. Here's another one, and again, same technique. You can see I got them a little wonky here. Doesn't matter. The lace underneath was curved on one side. That's fine. And again, I stitched it, and you can see how it's done there. I just thought they came out really nice, and again, it was using up scraps. Yay! And for the life of me, I'm not sure where I got this idea. Oh, I do know. Well, I don't know the name of the person. It was a photograph, or a picture. And someone was using, nope, that was someone else. Sorry. I stand corrected. I don't know who did this. If I can think of it, or if I can find it, I'll put it in a link below. But here's the last one I did. And again, just using up cardstock. Again, this was lace that wasn't quite, it wasn't square on both sides. It was curved. And I just put these 2 things on it. You could use buttons. You can use fussy cut flowers, or whatever you want. You could even use people cutouts, whatever. But that's that one. This next one, oh my gosh, I loved it. This is the one I was thinking about when I was speaking just a few seconds ago. I saw a picture, I think it was on Instagram or anyway, somewhere. And someone had taken a square handkerchief, and they had taken 2 of the corners, folded them together so that they just met, and then put some sort of decoration on top. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so pretty. But for my own personal use, I tend not to like squares. I like ovals, rounded edges, things of that nature. They're just a little bit softer to me. So I got to thinking, use up these doilies. I have a ton of doilies. You get a pack and they last forever. So that's exactly what I did. And so all you do, you take a flat doily. Here, let me show you. Let me just show you. So simple. Now here's a doily that isn't tea stained, but you want to put it out face down, the right side face down, and you literally just pull up the 2 sides. Keep in mind you want to, make it even. So I'm going to use that as my sort of, not a starting point, but a reference. And then you just do this. And naturally online it never wants to behave. But you just want the 2 edges to meet there. And if it doesn't line up, just keep fiddling with it until it does line up. Some of them, depends on your design. See, I was thinking that was the top, but let's do that as the top. And then you crease the edges. And then what I did, to make it much easier, I took a bit of scrap, not paper, but cardstock or whatever, something that was a little bit stiff. Tell you what, let me use one of these. It's narrower. And again, it was just a scrap, and I put it right down in there before I did anything else. You know, once I had it creased and it's laying down flat, I put this piece of scrap down in there, and then I just took this, here we go. This is a cutout that I used. Well, come here, you. It's just a fussy cut flower, and I put glue on this side and this side. Didn't want anything down in the middle, but again, you're using glue on top of a doily, which has holes in it, so some of the glue is going to come through, and that's why I put that piece of scrap cardstock in there. So once, you know, again, you've got these sides perforated, or not perforated, but pressed down. Your scrap in here to catch any excess glue. You take your picture or whatever. Here's one here. And again, I just put glue on this side and this side, not the center, because you don't want it to go on the center. Glue it on top. Voila. You have what I call doily pockets. So now you know. So again, these were easy. These were using some of my fussy cutting. And then also, as soon as you glue it down and you know it's holding and everything, what I did with the scrap piece, I just started moving it. Let me just show you what I mean. Because I didn't want it to really stick to that scrap piece, otherwise it was going to tear the doily. But I just started moving it gently and a little bit until it got loose, and that was it. You know, it was able to dry. So there you have doily pockets. And again, you cannot use all kinds of things. This is a bit of crochet and a faux pearl there. And you can just put a cardstock, a piece of like a journal tag down in there, or you can fold paper and put them in there. These two, if you didn't already have little snippets, they would take longer, obviously, to create the snippet. But again, that's what these are. I already had these done. I did a video on those several weeks back, I think. But those are what I call, well, duh, I just went blank. Doily pockets. This next thing, and again, this is not so much using up scraps. Hold on just a moment. Ah, I'm back. Okay. Allergies are driving me nuts, but these are basically just using full sheets of tea stain paper. If you make them small enough, you can use one sheet to get one of them. And so again, it's just very simple. This idea came from Yvonne Preston in a journal I had purchased from her. She had done this, and I thought, oh, that is so nice, because you've got a nice little bit of writing that you can do, because sometimes, you know, I want to write just a short amount, sometimes I want larger. And what you do, and I'll show you this also, but this is just the finished part. You curve one of the three, it's 3 strips, and one is, you cut the 2 a little bit shorter, and I'll explain that shortly. And I just put a doily over here, some cheesecloth, and one of these paper flowers. Same thing with these. And what you do, and I didn't want all of that down here, like the other side of the paper doily, so I just cut it off, made sure that my edges were glued down, and then what I'll do is glue from here, here, and here, leave this open, and then you've got a pocket down in here, as well as the writing space here. And here I used 2 little flowers, and on this one I used a Tim Holtz botanical die cut. Same principle. You know, again, you're looking at different sizes. It just depends on what size you're wanting. But basically, let me just show you here. You take a sheet of paper, and again, if you make it small enough, you can use 1 sheet of paper. Mine were a little bit larger, so mine took 2 sheets. I think for a total of 2 of them, it took 3 sheets, I believe, if I remember correctly. So the first thing you do, you've got this, your paper, This is just regular copy paper, and you third it. Now, I'm a math idiot, and I am quite serious. Math and I agree to disagree. So what I did, and I learned this from Julie of, what is it, Camellia Craft Designs. I hate measuring. Every time I measure something, it's like, no, it's just not going to work. So what you do is you just fold it accordion-wise until your edges match up. And you just kind of fiddle with it until you get them just about where you want them. And then you just pinch it right there. And then you open it back up. You've got a mark here and a mark here. And you just cut and cut. And what you end up with is this. 3 that are all the same size. Okay, simple. You take 2 of them, and again, I sewed mine. You don't have to. It's easier for me to sew. So I gathered them up here, and then I crease it there. Now, and then you take your other piece, and I'm going to show you, obviously, because they're all the same size, they're not going to meet. So that's when I take these 2, and I just make sure I'm holding it steady, and I just cut it off. And what that allows is for you to have enough to come up here. And that was just a simple cut. You can do it a little bit more precise, decide how much you want to lap over. This one is a lot, so I didn't have to cut all that much off because, see, I've got all this overhang. If I hadn't cut quite as much off, maybe half as much, I wouldn't have needed it. I'd have had a little bit longer one. Doesn't matter. You just play around with it. This shows you what you're going to come up with in the end. So, anyway, you take these 2 after you've cut it, decided how, what size you want, and I sewed them. You don't have to. I think Yvonne ended up, I think she stapled hers. I like sewing, so, well, I like sewing on journals. I hate sewing on other stuff. But once I got these 2 lined up, I put it in here. I'd already turned this part over, so I know where my crease is. And I just ran all 3, just ran a seam right down here. Okay? That holds it all together. And then you just come up with this one here. If you don't want it quite as long, you don't have to make it quite as long. You do want it to come up, though, where it's up in here. You don't have to necessarily touch it, but you do want it to be close. So say like you decided this was just a little bit too long up here. Well, that's simple. Just trim it down. Ta-da! And there you have it. And then you just decorate it. Again, I used paper doilies, cheesecloth, flour. You can use anything. Here I used fussy cutting and little paper doilies. You can use cloth instead of paper doilies. You can use cloth doilies, if you have some. But again, you've taken all 3 of these, sewn right here, and then what you do, dun, 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 if you want, when you're putting it in your journal page, glue, glue, glue. Put it down on your journal. So you've got this, you made a U with your glue, and you've got a pocket as well up here. So not only do you have the writing space, which is held in place by the sewing, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, this is just using 1 page to get this size. You can make them smaller, you can make them larger, it's entirely up to you. So that is what I have been up to. I hope this has made some sense to some people, or actually it'd be nice if it made sense to all people. But again, that's what I've been working on, just working with ephemera and stuff. I love making ephemera. I think it's fun and it's easy and it's not quite as, you don't have quite the obligation invested in it like you do a journal and stuff. So it's easier and you can just change out bits and pieces. So I think it's fun. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you any way I can. I enjoy hearing from you. I hope you're all having a blessed day. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.